So what is the PARCC? The PARCC is a standardized measure that Massachusetts is going to use instead of the MCAS to assess student readiness for college and careers, basically, by going through and testing the Mass State frameworks for each grade using this online assessment. There are 19 states in total that are using the same assessment this year. And the idea behind us all coming together for this test was to have a really high quality test, grades 3 through 11, that has meaningful results that we can compare nationally. And this year we're only doing grades 3 through 8 in Groton-Dunstable. But in the long term, if Massachusetts sticks with the PARCC test, it will be until grade 11. And this test is going to be completely online starting in grade 3. Kids will be typing their answers and selecting their answers, which allows them to improve on their technological readiness skills in addition to accessing the curriculum, which, as we know, is very, very important as they move on to college and past college. And it's a little bit of a different test from the MCAS in that there's a little bit more depth when we're focusing on complex texts and being able to respond to complex tests and being able to present knowledge through the research task. And the way that the research task is defined is really by responding to multiple texts at the same time. So on the MCAS, what we would traditionally see is students would read one passage and then answer questions based on that passage. What we see on the PARCC is students may read an encyclopedia passage, they might read a diary entry, they might watch a video or look at a picture, and then they're asked a question where they're asked to bring together all of those different pieces of text to come up with one answer. So that's what they call the research simulation task. And then also the math problems, where in MCAS were much more traditionally just computation based. This test is now looking at about 2/3 of that math knowledge being able to justify your answers and being to apply it, because research has suggested that these things are more valuable in life than just knowing the math. So it's a little bit more depth, and we've already made these transitions to teach our children using these skills, and now it's time to assess it using a standardized measure that kind of matches with the standards that we have been teaching. So the PARCC has 4 different windows, essentially. We're only opting into the third and the fourth window. So in the first window, we have this diagnostic assessment, and there's a mid-year assessment that districts can do. We're only using the performance-based assessment and the end-of-year assessment. The performance-based assessment, or the PBA, happens about 75% through the school year, which for us is about late March. And this is a much longer test because this requires students to do these different extended tasks. So in ELA, we're going to see that research task where they're actually having to write what they're calling a prose constructed response. They're doing a narrative task where they have to be able to write a full narrative text, and they're going to be doing some informational work as well. And then in math, they're going to be doing multi-step problems. They're going to have to show perseverance to be able to write and justify their answers. And then they're going to have to use different tools like an online calculator and an online protractor. The end of year assessment, which happens in May, which is almost the end of the year, is going to be short answer items. It's going to be very traditional multiple choice, drag and drop. There's going to be a very objective answer for everything. And the reason being is because they'll be able to correct it almost instantly, whereas we want to see that extra time to get these answers in the performance-based assessment. So your students will be taking, if they're in grades 3 through 8, they'll be taking the PARCC in March, and then they'll be taking it again in May. And those are 2 different tests for ELA and for math.